Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. This is a attorney-specific training that we'll be focusing on in the application today for the Customer Success webinar series. Just a little housekeeping before we get started, and I posted this in our chat too, so you can reference these instructions at any time if you need to. But if you do experience any audio issues today, if you can't hear, we do have some suggested things you can try to do. You can click on Get Audio Video Help in the lower left corner, and then from there you can switch to compatibility mode, and that should help out if you're having any audio issues. If you still experience issues after trying that out, please let us know. You will receive, we can follow up with a recording of this webinar, and then this webinar will be available to watch again immediately after. If you go to our Help Center and you go to any of the webinar articles, you can click on this webinar after it's been recorded, and it's awesome because you can view any of our other previous webinars. So if there's a time or day that you're not able to attend, but you'd like to hear the topic for that time, you can go back and watch these at any time as well. And then I also wanted to mention too that these webinars are for our users. So we always want to make sure we're doing topics that are relevant to everyone and that it's going to be useful and that it's worth your time to watch. So please let us know if there's any topics you don't see coming up soon or that we haven't covered. Send an email to us. You can send it to support@nextchaptervk.com or send us a message through our chat in the application by clicking on the orange button. There's a little right-hand corner that you can send messages to us there as well. Let us know your suggested topics, and we would be happy to take a look at those and explore doing some webinars over those specific topics that you would like to see in NextChapter. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started with today's webinar. So today we're going to be focusing, like I said, on the attorney-specific training. We're going to walk through some things that will help you as the attorney if you're working with support staff specifically. So ways that you can collaborate and prepare and file the cases with your support staff. Some people maybe aren't used to having a cloud-based software program, and there's a lot more that you can really do collaboration-wise so that we are on the cloud. Everyone has their own separate logins. So it does make it a lot better to be able to collaborate together and to work within the application and on cases in real time. So I want to go over some of those, some tips and some suggestions, some different ways that you can work on communicating in the case with your support staff and effectively preparing and filing the cases. The first thing I wanted to focus on, if you're signed up as the attorney in the account, you do have some additional steps you'll need to take within your settings to get set up as the attorney of record on any cases. So once you've set up your account and you go to My Account Settings, the first thing you're taken to is your firm information. So this is a great place to go and make sure you have all of your firm information. This is what we're going to use on the attorney fee disclosure and on the petition. If you have the Chapter 13 plan package, we use this address information as well for the firm's contact information if your plan does have that listed within it. If you work from multiple offices, we do allow you to enter in multiple offices here. So if you have a multi-firm office and you have some in a couple different jurisdictions, you can add those by clicking Add Office. Save in all the information here. You can give it any name that you'd like. This nickname is what you'll be able to select between when you're preparing the case. And then when you select this specific firm, this is the information that we'll use in that case. So that's a good thing to kind of get set up here as you get started, or if you've been using it for a while and you weren't sure that was there, you can add those in now, again, under My Firm. The next thing that is going to be specific to the attorney, the user profile is going to look a little different because we are going to ask you for some additional information within this section. So we will need your bar number here and the bar state that corresponds to. And then also selecting the specific district. So if you're going to have different ECF logins, let's say if this was my Florida credentials and I have credentials to file with Florida Southern and I have credentials to file with Florida Middle, I could save in my primary district here. I could do Florida Middle if that's primarily where I file. And then down here is where I can click to add in additional profiles. So if I have other districts that I file in, and I would like to store these credentials in here, so when I'm ready to file that case, I can. Just like with the additional office profile, I can click to add an additional attorney profile. So again, you're going to add in the bar information and the ECF credentials. And then when you're in the case in NextChapter, in the same spot under the filing information, and when I'm in a case, I'll show where this is at, you will now have the choice to choose between your different profiles for that case, and then also the additional offices if you do have multiple saved in here. So again, that's something that is a different. I know some attorneys will have their paralegals kind of log in to set all this up, and that's completely fine. You just need to make sure that they log in with your specific login information. So everyone has their own profile, and if I were to change this to say I'm a paralegal, we don't ask for that additional information. So if the paralegal is the one that's going to get your account set up with all of your profiles, you will need to make sure they log in with your login information. It may send a verification email to do our two-factor authentication, which is right here. This is for added security, and it's just verifying that you are who you say you are when you're logging in. But if I wanted to have the paralegal set up my account, it's as simple as coming in here, toggling this off, and then clicking Save User Settings. I do want to point out that any update you make on this page, whether it's your profile information up top or adding in additional profiles, you do need to make sure you click on to save your user settings. And then you'll get a notification at the top in this green box letting you know that it's successfully saved. So if you do want to have, again, the support staff set up some of your accounts, it's not a problem. You'll just have to provide your login information to them, and then they can log in, add all this in for you, and save. And again, I would recommend turning off this two-factor authentication unless they happen to have access to your email as well. Then it won't be a problem, but it could get a little tricky if they don't. And then it's up to you too if you want to leave this on in general. This is just added security, but we do leave it into the hands of the user and the firm as to whether you want to have this added security on or not. So it's completely up to you. Next, I wanted to quickly go over the user accounts and invites. So as I mentioned, when you have your account set up, you are set up as the attorney. So you do have a little bit more extra options within the firm settings. When you're adding in any future users, it's as simple as adding in their email address, selecting their role, and then inviting them to join the firm. As the attorney, I also have the ability to revoke anyone. So if I have a paralegal that leaves the firm and I need to revoke their access, I can simply click on revoke. That will remove them out of the system. So I can revoke this one here, and they're taken out of that. So that will help me manage the users within my account. The number of users you have saved within NextChapter, it doesn't matter if you're on the start plan, you can add an unlimited number of users. If you do decide to go to one of our other pricing plans, or if you're already on one of our other pricing plans, we do have limits. So for the Pro plan, we'll allow up to 6 users. And then after that is when, I'm going to expand back so you can see this here. After 6 users, that's when you would jump up to our WO, and then it's an additional $99 per user. So that's why it's important, you know, if you are on a Pro or WO plan, if you do have support staff that, back in my user accounts and invites, if you do have support staff that leaves or joins the firm, this is where you can kind of manage that information here and keep this cleaned up as well. So you can revoke anyone. So if they leave the firm, they no longer have access to those cases. That's a very important thing that you want to kind of keep up on, just for the sake of who's got access to your account within NextChapter too. And then the other thing I wanted to focus on while we're here in the settings, specifically for the attorney and setting up the firm, this is where you do want to save in the firm's credit card information. This is what we will use if you're on the per case to file that $79 or $59 per case if you are grandfathered in on our loyalty pricing. And then if you're on a Grow or a Pro plan, we do charge the monthly or annual fee with this credit card here. And then also if you have a credit card set up and you use the credit report integration, this is where the card that we'll also use for that. And if any time you need to update this information, you can do so from the billing and credit card section, just adding in a new card and expiration, and it'll override the information. We let you know the current card right here. I was thinking specifically again for the attorney in the setup, I did want to focus on a couple of things we have here. A lot of what I want to talk about today, again, is going to be that case management and collaboration. So one of the things I thought would be helpful for the attorneys to know and understand within NextChapter is some of the firm defaults that we have here. I think it takes a little bit of time. We do have so many options to customize your workflow within NextChapter and a lot of the defaults that are set up. But if you're able to, or again, if you have, the support staff can do this as well. I think it's something good for the support staff and the attorney to work on together to make sure you're getting the best flow for everyone and everyone's considering each process, everyone's role within it. And as I go through today, what I may consider to be something that the attorney does, the paralegal might, and every firm's a little different in what works best in your flow. But I would suggest taking a look at a lot of these defaults within here. When I'm in the cases, I'm going to talk about the checklist that we have available. But if you weren't aware, we do have a preset list of documents and like a task list. And then we've got some default fee categories as well. We just use kind of a commonly used set within these, but I would recommend coming in here with your support staff and, kind of slimming them down or beefing them up to specifically to your firm and your jurisdiction and what you always ask for. These are super helpful tools, I think, to really communicate with your staff quickly without even having to send an email or call or, have someone come into your office to find out, what documents have been received? What are we waiting for on this case? What step are we at in the process? So if you really take a little bit of time to get these to exactly what works for your firm, then when you're in the case, I'll kind of show how everyone can quickly log in and see where you're at, and then you're not using valuable man hours communicating about where a case is, and everyone can kind of keep up to date on that. And then the other part within this too, I did want to focus on was our firm created statuses. So we have a preset list of status options for your case. So where the case is at within, the current status of that case. Again, we provide a small list. You are welcome to come in here and delete any of these, edit any of these, or add any new. And then when you have this updated, this is really going to help with the firm management as far as keeping, I'm going to show you some reporting tools that we have available so you can kind of see at any time, you can take a bird's eye view to see where the firm is at with all of the cases that are in progress, all of the leads, ones that are ready to file. If you want to generate a list, if the support staff prepares cases up to a certain point and then you have them maybe mark it as to review, then you can come in on maybe a daily or weekly or bi-weekly basis and take a screen or pull a CSV of any of these statuses, and I'll show you how to do that. But in order to really utilize that function, you do want to make sure you have all the statuses saved here, and then we'll be able to pull reports based on those as well. So there's a lot more here that you can go through, but those were the big ones I really wanted to focus on as far as communicating with your staff. And again, updating a lot of these are really going to help with the general flow of your cases too. And then lastly, when you are set up, you do need to set up an attorney fee disclosure. So if you haven't filed yet through NextChapter, you will need to do this. So you just want to make sure you save in your specific statements it's for what you will agree and not agree to cover with the fees. So you pretty much answer these. You can title them whatever you'd like. So if you have a different statement that you use for Chapter 13s as you do for 7s, or maybe for different districts, you can manage that here. And then that's going to make it real quick and easy when you're ready to work on specific cases. These will be available for you to choose between. So now I'm going to go back to my firm dashboard here. And I kind of want to show what I was discussing with the possible reporting options. If I want to use the case status to kind of generate some reports, I can click on, here's my recent case list. I can click on all cases. So I'm able to generate a CSV, like an Excel sheet, based on any of these columns here, and I can actually filter them down. So if I don't even want to generate a report, I just want to quickly see how many does this attorney have? I can sort them by name here. I can do it by status. I can see how many have been filed, how many are in progress, and then I can also filter them too. So if I only want to see my cases that are ready to review, it looks like I don't have any. If I want to see any that are ready to file. Okay, so I have 2 cases that are ready to be filed. And it's nice, I can see how long ago they've been worked on too. So this is a great tool to make sure that all the cases, especially your leads, are being followed up on. So you could generate reports with cases that haven't been touched within a week or within a month or whatever works best for your firm. You can also filter by that, generate a report, and then have, divvy that up amongst yourself and support staff to reach back out and try to get those cases rolling. But if I want to generate this as a report, I click on the CSV button. And that's just going to download, again, a CSV. Can be opened in Microsoft Excel. If you're working out of a Mac computer, you can open it on Excel if you have that, or under Numbers. It'll open those, and those will be workable reports that you can use and help you to better manage your cases in NextChapter. Okay, so now I'm going to go, that was kind of the high firm level and a lot of setups that will help you as you're into the cases. So I'm going to go into a case, and we'll kind of look at this on a case level. Make sure that, okay. So as we're working on the case here, some things I wanted to talk about as far as the communication, the things that you can do within NextChapter. And a lot of times these are tools that maybe people aren't even aware that we have. So I do like to point them out, and you can really think about it and use them, apply them into your firm with what makes the most sense. So in the case dashboard, we obviously store a lot of basic information, the debtor's contact information. Here is where we kind of do what we call the quick information, something that you can access quickly, whether the client calls and they get on the phone and you want to know what's the status, maybe any upcoming initial dates. We have that all saved right here. These are the statuses that we saw in the all case list, so we can add and delete these from our settings. And then we can use these when I update this to review. It actually updates in the header. So again, it makes it really quick to see. Anyone can log in, so you don't have to, again, call up the paralegal, call the attorney. Where are we at with this case? Is it ready? Has it been reviewed? So this can quickly help you figure that out within the case. It's a really small thing, but I think it's super helpful with that. Then also, here are the lists that I was referring to. And this is why this is the first thing it takes you to when you open a case. It kind of is the mindset of, let's take, again, that bird's eye view, hop into the case and quickly see where is it at, what needs to be done, so that I don't have to ask someone, maybe the paralegal's working on, preparing 10 different cases. He or she may not know all the documents that are needed, and if the client's on the phone, it can be difficult to recall that all, or try to find in an email, or try to find a sticky note on someone's desk. So if your firm can really get into the habit of using these document checklists and the task lists, it can be super helpful with keeping your cases organized and flowing. And we know the biggest roadblock to getting your case filed is the obtaining of these documents. So we have this here so that you can really stay diligent on it. And it's nice because I can, at any time, let's say I have the client, either I'm going to send a follow-up to them, maybe they've come into the office to drop off, they gave me the title to their vehicle, they still haven't given me their bills and their mortgage statements. I can actually print this out. When I clicked that little print button, I'm going to go back and show where that is. This print button right here, it's going to generate what I have saved here, what's been checked off. And again, I can edit these and say husband only. You can type in whatever you want so that it's specific to this case, but it's going to start with that default list from the settings. And then when I'll generate a new one since I typed on that. When I click on the little print button, it's going to give me a PDF. So it's a document checklist for Johnny and Julie Appleseed, shows everything they provided and everything that's needed. You can email this to your client. If they're in office, you want to give them a physical paper reminder so that when they set this on their kitchen table at home, it's going to remind them. They're not going to forget, which I think they can do a little bit more with their email. Feel free to print this out, provide it to them. That's kind of the purpose and what we created this for. In the tasks here, as I go through and complete tasks, people have asked you, like, it would be easier if they could only see what needs to be done. So you have this option in the view. I can say I want to hide the completed tasks. So now I only see what needs to be done. And then as I work through, and if I refresh, that's going to hide that task for me. And again, anyone with a login to your account can quickly come in, click on tasks, and see where the case is at, hopefully to reduce that, the redundancy of needing to ask over and over again, where is this file? What do we need to do for that? If I go a little further down, a huge communication tool that we have available, and I know a lot of firms in NextChapter, that we have some firms that really, really utilize this and they love it. So in this section here, it's simple. It's just a comment section. So I can write any comment. And when I add this comment, it's going to tag it with me as my login. So I can see who left the note and then the time they left the note, time and date. There's an X, I can delete any if I accidentally did one that I don't want to be saved. It was just a mistake, I can delete it out. This gets utilized in many different ways. Some it's just kind of like a little notepad as I'm meeting with the client. I can say what we talked about, what information still needed, and then I scheduled for the signing appointment on this date. Any information that you want to jot down that you don't, again, want to be stored somewhere not on the cloud, somewhere that no one else has access to but yourself, that really limits your communication on this case, where if it's information that might be vital, even with the preparation of the case, asking the paralegal to please make sure, the income should be entered a certain way because they have irregular income, or don't forget to do this, or any reminders, maybe when the paralegal's completed the case and they've added everything except the expenses because they're waiting on that from the client, they can make that note right here. And again, the attorney, other support staff can quickly log in and see that. And then some people will use it to just simply copy and paste messages sent via email directly into NextChapter. So we don't currently have any type of integration for email, but if you wanted to save in very pertinent information and paste in, we've seen a lot of firms do this. So that way it's kind of linking all of the email between all support staff and the attorney in the case here. So you would just simply paste it in and I can see who it was sent to and the information that was sent to them. It's also a good CYA as well. So, making sure that everyone is doing what they were supposed to be doing within this case and everyone is reaching out to the client appropriately, you can cover your bases with that too. Just as like we had with the document checklist, I can click on the print button right here. And then this is going to generate another PDF for me with all of these notes dated and time. So again, if this is something you had pertinent information you wanted to physically have when you're going to meet with the client, or if you want to, when you're going to court, if you want to print this out, this is available for you as well. Next, I'm going to go over another communication tool that we have. I do want to point out this is an add-on. It's NextMessage. So this is an additional feature that you can add within your settings. But this is a great way to, again, have the most effective communication as you can between your clients and your support staff. You can go ahead and text clients directly from this, and you will see the history right here. So some people do. I know some firms are starting to use text message features to communicate with their clients, because a lot of times debtors almost always have cell phones but don't always have computers or easy access to a computer. So we've found, and after a lot of communication with our users, we've found that that was a big need within the softwares to be able to send updates and reminders. And then one of the things too is if you're using an outside service for this, that information might get stored within a third-party app, or it might just be stored on the attorney's cell phone if they're just communicating directly. And again, that's not something that the rest of the staff has access to, or they may not have access to. So that doesn't make for the best use of your time as far as communication. And I feel like this really opens it up, reducing the amount of questions that staff may have and what's been communicated to the client and what the client have asked and said. So you'll actually be able to see that history right in here. I can type direct messages to them, and whenever I send, anyone with a login can see this communication. So I think this is a really, really useful tool. We've gotten great feedback on it. We're continuing to add in more abilities within this feature. And so if you've tried it, you have any feedback, please let us know. And if you would like to try it out, let us know too. And we'd be happy to give you a trial of this as well. Next, I kind of wanted to go over, this is a really simple thing that I think is a cool tool that, because we're on the cloud, maybe not everybody knows, but if you were working with your support staff and let's say you use a service to chat within the office, such as Slack, Salesforce Chatter, even just email. If you wanted to direct someone to a case, let's say I am the attorney and I wanted to know what this lawsuit, I had a question about this specific lawsuit within Johnny's case, and I had a question about it. And what I think is the most efficient thing to do is whenever I ask a question, try to provide as much information as I can so that they can get to it quickly. Well, instead of just saying, hey, Johnny Appleseed, I have a question about the List lawsuit, San Marcos Justice, maybe I had multiple, I can actually use the URL. I can copy and paste this. So I'm not sure. Okay, good. Everyone can see the URL here. The URL is going to contain the case. This is the case ID. So every time you're in a case, this is unique to this case. So 22919 is the case ID in NextChapter for Johnny Appleseed. And then after that, it's actually going to have the tag to indicate where I'm at within the case. So I could actually take this and just quickly copy and paste the full link. When I'm communicating to whomever I need to within the firm, I can send them this link. If they're logged in, which most of the time you don't have to log out of NextChapter, you can just close out of your browser. If they click on this link, it's going to take them right to this page. So that's something, again, if you're not used to working on an application that's web-based like us, if you're coming from a desktop, I think that's a cool little tool to send someone directly where you need to go and, again, have more effective communication and get to the meat and bones of your question instead of searching around and trying to find what you're referring to. So also another thing you may not be used to is that I did want to point out that everyone can work on the same case at the same time. Because we are in the cloud, everything updates in real time. So if I make an update and then I want to click on preview, it'll update the forms right away. What I would recommend is to kind of communicate. If you're both going to, even if there's two support staff, the support staff and attorney that are working in a case, maybe just vary where you're at. If you're both working in expenses and you're both adding in this amount at the same time, whoever did the last update is going to be the most recent update because it does update in real time. So I think to avoid any confusion, it might be good to communicate and say, hey, this afternoon I'm going to be working on inputting these expenses so that no one's in there also doing the same thing, doubling the work, maybe overriding your work. You do want to communicate that. But if you're in different sections, you absolutely can work on a case at the exact same time. It's going to update both the information being input and it will update into the forms at the same time as well. When you are working on a case too, if you go down to additional documents and client document storage, feel free to use this client document storage like you would a shared file or like a Dropbox. This does have unlimited storage that we offer to you. So this is another way that you're not having to go out of the application. So if the paralegal does the input on the case and they obtain all the documents, they can save everything directly in here. So tax returns, if there's any statements, documents, if you save them in here, I think it's really efficient to save them in here because, again, if I log into another computer, if I'm in court and I have my tablet and I just need to pull up the case information, I can quickly come in here and preview any of these documents. So it makes it very easy to work on your cases from anywhere. If it's a form that's going to be filed with the case, such as the credit counseling certificate, I can upload it here and then my support staff can already do that. So when I'm ready to file the case, that's actually ready to go within the system. And then lastly, just wanted to kind of go over some things with reviewing the case. Some review options. If you are reviewing the forms, the documents with the client, you've got your signing consultation, your signing meeting. You can go to download and print. We do have an option here for you to select the signature pages only. So you could have your attorney or your debtor sitting next to you, and you can go through and preview each of the forms and make sure everything looks good. And then if everything does look good, you can proceed to just downloading those signature pages only. Let's say if you don't need the SSN form, delete that. If you don't need the creditor text file, you can delete that too. So now only these items are going to generate for me, and I can download those, have the client sign, make a note in my case dashboard, and then mark the case as it's ready to be filed if you'd like. So I did want to show that in there. When you're kind of reviewing the case and you are to that point, we do have that option to remove those signature lines. So that's kind of all I had, kind of looking from the attorney's perspective of communicating in the case, preparing the case, kind of setting up the firm and the workflows that it has. If there was something specific you had questions on, feel free. We've got the chat in here. Send us a question and let us know. And again, if there's any other topics that you would like us to cover, we would love to hear those suggestions as well, so we can continue to have interesting topics and make sure that it's helpful for everyone, and that we're helping to train and provide tips and tricks for using the system so that everyone can get the most out of it. But that's all I have for today. I don't see any questions in the application, so hopefully that's good. But if you think of anything after, feel free to reach out in our chat, or again, our email support@nextchapterbk.com. And if you'd like to sign up for any future webinars, you can do so from our Help Center, and you can sign up for any of the upcoming ones. So thanks, everyone. I hope you have a great rest of your week.